All right, so welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin.
I'm Tarsha.
And this is, of course, Conversations with the Crawleys, where we have conversations about faith, family, relationships, and a whole host of recaps of our favorite TV shows. This one is all about season 13 of Married at First Sight, the Houston edition. And so if this is content that you enjoy, definitely make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, hit the like button, and request notifications, and
share.
We're going to share. All right. All right, listen.
If you knew.
All right. So if you're looking for ways to support the channel, you have some links in the bottom there in the description as far as the store, CashApp, those type of things. We definitely appreciate all of our subscribers, all of you that are continually watching and commenting. In fact, shout out to the KT squad. I don't have anyone. It's kind of, we had a lot of things going on, so I don't have anyone to shout out this time, but we shout all of you out this time just because you guys are an amazing part of our community that we're building. If y'all only knew. All right. So, Married at First Sight, they are now coming into the home stretch.
Yeah. What, 7 days, 8 days, something
we start off with like 2 weeks left.
Right.
And so this week is kind of like, okay, now share your background, share your family, share how you grew up if you have that. And they had an assignment to write a letter to their younger self with lessons that they learned, what have you.
Yeah.
Brett and Ryan, he's like, my childhood was ATV and fishing.
Well, and I think that's some of the issue, right? Mm-hmm. As far as him knowing his dad, he only had those moments of happiness with his dad when they were going fishing.
Right.
Then he indicates, because his dad had some racing cars with his brother, that caused some contention in his family.
Right.
So he saw his mom and dad argue all the time about money that he put in the race cars, right? Because maybe that was something he was passionate in and wanted to do.
Right.
But it just didn't translate in anything but for him to be resentful for his dad causing all the problems because of money.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big indicator of him not seeing a close relationship or wanting to have conflict.
Right.
Right? Because if you see that your parents are always in conflict, you're trying to keep away from that pain.
Yeah.
That now can re-traumatize you
as
a child. So I think that was some of
his issues. Yeah, I think, when we think about even just what we've seen of him, we know that they differ politically, him and Brett, right? Mm-hmm. They differ politically. Mm-hmm. He tends to be more capitalist, if we can say that, right? And so therefore, if that was the driving force with his dad, was the money, right?
Right.
And being able to do what he wanted to with his money when he wanted to do it.
Right.
And then the mom, so that could also play a part into how he interacts with young ladies, with women, right? Because this is his first serious relationship, really, because, his story is that he dated half of East Texas is basically what happened, right?
Right.
So it doesn't bode well for them, right?
No.
And he keeps saying the right things, but his actions are not matching up.
And again, if you tend to act more, you mimic what you see.
Absolutely.
And until you can get out that rut of mimicking what you see, you find yourself doing the same thing your parents do.
Yep.
And so he feels like they're having a good week, and she's just really trying. She's like, I'm trying to make this work.
Right.
Feeling like she's giving all her effort into it.
Absolutely.
And then they get back to her place.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm about to share. She, has pictures, I guess, that she's about to share from her childhood, what have you. And, according to her, 10 minutes before they had this meeting, she gets a text.
On the way back, right?
Yeah.
This whole time they're together.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I can imagine she's in the car. She get a baby. She like, I'm just gonna wait.
Yeah. She like, because the cameras ain't here, so they I know they want to capture this.
Let's wait.
So
she's sitting down. She got her pictures of her life in her arms. You know what? before we get started in this, and we share, I think I don't need to share.
Right.
Because you down in a dating app, and you matched with one of my friends. Hi, what erotic is.
So let's think about this. We're talking Houston, right? So we're not talking a
I didn't know
small
Houston was
town.
that small.
We're talking Houston. What are the
I've never
chances
been to Houston.
of swiping,
You
match?
probably already dated half of her friends.
Right. So, and he's like, I just downloaded it today. Well, you matched today.
Right. And my understanding is that you have to pick someone to match someone.
Right. He's trying to make it seem like, as far as the way he's putting it, is like, I just downloaded it. I don't know how I matched because I literally wasn't doing anything. And then he sends her this text basically saying, I had it kind of downloaded and ready for after decision day.
Like, you didn't make it better, dude. She said, you couldn't wait a week? You was already trying to position yourself to go back to doing what you did before. That didn't work.
Listen, he trying to get his decision day date in. He like, the moment I leave the meeting with the experts and with
she ain't even divorced yet. They wouldn't even be divorced.
He like, we separated. Look, and I'm gonna start looking for a wifey number 2.
He can't, because he has right now, until he gets some counseling, he has no capacity.
We know that.
And
the experts probably know that. He don't know that.
That's very unfortunate for him.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate.
So, we don't even have to make a prediction. They're done, right?
Yeah.
We've actually, the writing's been on the wall for several weeks.
Yeah.
Regarding this couple.
Yeah.
They're done, right?
Yeah.
And kudos to Brett for at least making the effort and trying to, I think she was in this marriage by herself in a lot of respects.
Out of the two of them, I would give her a little bit more effort, but she needed to call him out.
True.
She does indicate at sometimes she did, but then he would get a little temper and she would back off.
Yeah.
You have to have the trust too to say, okay, just the BS aside, and sometimes just go ahead and have the big blow up.
Yeah.
Because she still needs to have a place to release everything and the sadness of the loss that she didn't get the love of her life. Because she says she came from a very loving home.
Yeah.
And they've been married forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, it's funny how we see these experts think that your spouse is going to bring enough out of you to change 30 years, 35 years of a traumatic childhood.
Yeah.
And these people may not be honest about how this really affected them.
Mm-mm.
And they should have, I feel like, let me put you on the back burner with your 100 dates a week. And let's keep working. But no one got time for all that.
Yeah. And I think, again, just things that we're seeing that probably should come up in the vetting process and deliberation of matching is, we've seen, because this isn't the only couple, but there's other couples that we've seen where their lack of wanting to engage in conflict, right? Mm-hmm. Not saying you want to fight for the sake of fighting,
right?
But part of her issue has been that she does not like conflict, because there was a time where she was given the direct question to ask him about, where did he go wrong? What is he looking for? What have you? And she basically said, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And then when it came to the time to do it, she didn't do it. Right.
Right.
So you have to, if you're going to build a relationship, you have to be able to have those tough conversations. And too often we're seeing people that are matched that don't want to have those difficult conversations to help build their relationship.
And she's probably, when she go in her next relationship, that's what she needs to do.
Yep.
What are you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
If this is not working or they start to back off, okay, I need to learn from the experience.
Right.
And if you're not taking the time to learn from your past experience to say, okay, how could I do or be better, then you'll end up in the same rut.
Yeah. All right. And then Jose and Rachel, who are. I predict that they will make it through decision day.
I think they will.
I don't know about life after decision day.
I think they will. I think if they continue to keep working on it and have vulnerable conversations and not feel like they're going to hurt somebody's feelings or they're going to cause more conflict or assume what they say is going to do certain things, then they'll be fine.
Right.
You know, because everything else was pretty good when they spoke to Dr. Pepper, except for one thing.
Right. Well, they, as far as them kind of going to each other's homes and everything.
Yeah.
He takes her to his place where he grew up, what have you. And they have this conversation about how, you know, he's like, we ate a lot of rice and beans because my family was poor. And she's like, we did that, but I thought that was culture. I thought that was just because we're Hispanic, right?
Right.
And so for her, it raised kind of a, not necessarily a red flag, but maybe a yellow caution about the fact that of how he views success. Because for her, she's looking at, I didn't view that as a sign of being poor. So if you're taking that as a sign of being poor and a sign of lack and what have you, even though you had a home, even though you had these other things, then what is going to be enough for you? And I think that may be even just a question for his own psyche and his own ego, is what is enough for Jose? And not saying that you ever get to a point where it's like you want nothing else, right? But what is the point where you find yourself content? And I don't know that he has that.
Well, and, you know, obviously we didn't see all of that conversation that they probably had, because I would ask him, have you ever asked your parents, were they poor?
Right.
Did you ever ask your parents?
Right.
Were they just very conservative with their money because they built a house?
Right.
And they wanted to put the money for food and something else because they had like 10 of y'all. I don't know. You know, I think he only had like 2 other siblings. But I'm just saying, sometimes it's not because you're poor. It's like, well, we made decisions that these are the places we can cut back to budget.
Right.
But your perception as a kid, you weren't well off.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, there are things like, I know for us in retrospect growing up, it's like, oh yeah, that's why we had to eat that. You know, because like, for example, liver and onions.
That's not a poor thing. They're not. Liver and onions is not.
Well,
cheap.
Liver?
Liver, yeah.
Maybe not. Okay. Well, I don't know why we ate it. It was never tasty.
That's a cultural thing.
No, but my family's culture isn't South or anything like that.
Your grandma's from Mississippi.
My grandmother's from Tennessee.
Okay, is that not in the South?
Anyway, all right. But that was my grandma. My mama grew up in Chicago. All right, we'll talk about it. We might have to ask my mom about that one.
Yes, because we ate liver and onions as well.
But yeah, your family eat pig's feet too, so that's definitely culture for y'all.
Exactly.
But
at the same time,
anything.
But at the same time, right? We still had a home, whatever.
True. Absolutely.
But there were certain things they wouldn't buy expensive clothes for us. You know, they didn't find value in brand names. They were like, long as you eat and you can get to school and you look decent and you're clean, that's all they cared about because of what their background. Yeah. And so you have to look at all those things to realize, okay, maybe we didn't have the best of things all the time, but we have some of the conveniences. So
okay. So then they have the conversation. Jose and Rachel do have their conversation with Dr. Pepper. And Rachel is like, yeah, there's something I need to confess because I need to talk about. These are my confessions. All right. So basically there's this huge cut to the point where we're watching and like, did they just leave that, forget that?
Yeah, I was like, hold on, did she?
Because there's like an hour they come back to when she has the conversation. So basically, remember
that must have been a blow up.
Yeah, because remember the night that she was kicked, well, she was locked out of the house because Jose got upset because she called him by Johnny's name.
Yes.
Right. And so she couldn't find anybody as far as the other couples to, you know, connect with, what have you. So she called up an ex-boyfriend. Right.
Right.
he was the only one that responded or answered. So she went there and stayed there.
Yes, that night.
Doesn't look like anything happened.
Right.
Nothing, right? She was just like, I need a place to stay.
Right.
And he's upset because he's like, and she was concerned about how he would take it because he said the once a cheater, always a cheater thing.
Right.
And he has an issue with it. But here's the problem I have with that, is that you weren't really that concerned about where she spent that night because it probably would have come up before then.
Because I would have asked. Like, okay, if you want to keep with your story.
Right. That you accidentally
locked the door and went to sleep.
Right.
But this is the wife that you're going to care for and feed. The next morning, when she did come in, you realized that you locked the door. Oh my God. Where were you? Did you sleep in the lobby? Did you sleep in your car? Oh my goodness. Are you okay? What happened? Where were you? Did she lie? Like, I would be...
It's a possibility.
I would have been upset because you lied to me.
If that's what happened, right?
If that's what happened. I asked you where you were. You lied about it. But then I'm still mad about everything else and why I can't talk about it. And we just
the impression we get is that he never really asked about it. It was never really brought up.
Right. And I'm like, I would have brought it up because while you're mad and pissed off, whatever. And by the way, I had to stay with my ex-boyfriend. Boom, drop the mic. So if you're going to kick me out, this is what I'm saying. If you
I got options. She's like, I got options still.
If you're going to say I'm out, since I'm out and you're telling me where my boxes are, by the way, I had to stay at my ex-boyfriend's house. How you like that? And then let it all come out. We all got it all off our chest. And then you can move on.
Remind me to never tick you off because you got
you
trust petty with that one.
Trust me, you know not to tick me off.
I do know that. All right. Jesus. All right. So that's their issue. They had a blow up, what have you. But again, I think that they're okay going forward on decision day.
Yeah, I think they'll last as long as they keep working on it.
Yeah, we'll see it in a year.
Okay.
All right. Mirla and Gil.
The lovebirds.
Yes, the lovebirds. He takes her to his old neighborhood where his dad was shot and where he grew up and everything. Yeah. And he's like, you're the only person I've ever brought here. So that was a moment of vulnerability for him to kind of just show her that part of his life, right?
I think he was crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have never really fully revisited that place of tragedy, and now you're bringing the person that you are hoping to build a life with, right? And you're bringing this person there, then that can definitely understand the emotional things that go along with that.
Yeah, because he actually woke up, saw the guy come in his house and shoot through a door and kill his dad.
So it's not like his dad was murdered, and he heard about it moments later. He was in the midst of it, right? And then on her side, they go and play volleyball.
Right.
She wears her old high school jersey.
That it still fits.
It still fits. With her name on the back, and she was very proud that her name was on the back because she mentioned like 2 or 3 times.
Yes.
So she didn't have a place to take him to, but she did kind of show pictures of her childhood, and she showed, I think it was a 1-bedroom.
It was a
1-room
house. Because she indicates they moved around a lot.
Yeah.
So that would make sense that you wouldn't have a place where you could really say was home.
Right.
When she talks about her childhood.
Right.
So, she's like, hey, now can you understand, why I want some of the things I want? And Gil's like, well, I want you to stay that person and remembering those things. But for some people, they don't want to ponder or remember those things.
It's the driving force that motivates them to continue to grow and build and what have you.
Correct.
And that whole conversation of money keeps coming back up for them, right?
Right.
Because he's concerned about how she approaches things, and then they have the conversation with Dr. Pepper,
right?
And there is this conversation of, do they love each other? And
Right.
he's like, I don't want to say it just yet. I
Right.
kind of feel that way,
Right.
but I've said it too early, too soon.
Right.
And I don't want to do that in this relationship.
Right.
So great on that.
Right.
Right. But then when they're talking about the money, and he
Having
still has
kids.
an issue of how she spends the money that she accumulates, that she makes. And she's, again, we know she's got a sizable savings, right?
Correct.
So they're talking about, he gives the example of, if we can do this in 6 years, or if we can do it in a year and a half, which is better.
Right.
And she's like, well, I've proven that I can save.
Right. You
I
see how much I got.
She's like, I'm doing my part.
Right.
He's like, well, it basically was like, he's coming to her, telling her, you need to kick in more of your money that you're earning so that we can accomplish this goal. And that's a conversation, I think, that happens after trust has been built. We're talking, they're 6 weeks in, and yes, they're in a relationship. Yes, we are advocates of, for us, we have joint bank accounts. We still have separate bank accounts that we have.
I don't
we
think
play
that's
around.
the issue. I don't think that's the issue.
What's the issue?
I think the issue is he's a firefighter and he doesn't make enough money to save. Now, my understanding is he said he does some side hustles and does some handiwork. He needs to get out and do some more handiwork.
True.
Firefighter works 2 times a week over a 24-hour period.
Right.
So after
48 hours, so yeah.
Yeah. So after his shift, he has a day to recoup. It sounds like he needs to get it in gear and put in, because she says she's working hard enough and she's putting a nice amount aside. So he has to get over his ego and make a decision that, how can I help? And she says she's willing to compromise, because before she wasn't.
Right.
So if they can really look at it and say, okay, let's look at some numbers. If I up my part and say, this is the part I'm going to up first, and then you decrease maybe another 20%, we can probably do it at this amount of time.
Right.
Or change the side of your house. Because I know, depending on real estate, where you want 20%, it depends on how big a house you want.
Right.
So if they can make some small compromises, and he can decide, I know I don't make enough money, but I'm going to show you that I want to put in, because it is worth the reward of what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that it's almost like he's telling her how to spend her money. Well, it's not almost, he is.
Well, they're married.
They are married, right? And so, yes, there's a joint that comes with that. But he's trying to, in my opinion, he's trying to change how she operates on a dime when they haven't built that trust for that, right? Because I think that there has to be some conversations of, how do they split things up? How do they manage their money? Absolutely. But the way that he's always been operating with her is, you spend too much, you waste too much, you do too much. And she's like, I do that because I can, because I've got these other things that I've got going on where I save my money. So if I have this money that's in excess, I want to use that for what I want to use it for. Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's just mentality.
Yeah. All right. And then Johnny and Bao. So they get back from the Houston trip, right, from the ranch. And she's like, they just didn't interact. And we saw that because Johnny essentially said he wanted to interact with her as little as possible.
Yep.
So he accomplished his mission.
Yep.
And she asked, how do you think it went? He was like, it was good. And she gives that. Did you pick up on how she was like,
Yeah, because she was like, yeah, because we didn't interact really the whole time. And she's trying to create conversation. He doesn't want to make conversation.
Right.
So he's like, I'm going to go take a shower. She's like, well, I'll go talk to plants, because at least the plants,
At least I get a response from the plants.
okay, like they might be dying, but I'm going to water them because nothing else is getting watered in our relationship.
Right.
And so, they go on and Dr. Pepper come. Oh, so then they have their childhood.
Right. So Johnny takes her to the place that they live,
Yes.
right? And they talk and what have you. And Johnny has daddy issues,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We normally think of daddy issues just being, abandonment. We think, typically when we use that term daddy issues, we're talking
He
about a
was
young woman.
abandoned.
We're talking about a woman that has the lack of a father
Right.
type of daddy issues, right?
Right.
But for him, his daddy issues are, yes, abandonment. It is how not having the example
right.
of a father in his life that was present.
Present, yeah.
Because his father was in his life, but not present.
Correct.
Because I guess his father lived in California and now, and here in Texas. So,
right.
So Johnny is like, with everything that I have, I should be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But he ain't.
Right.
And he's self-sabotaging. He's been self-sabotaging this whole relationship from probably after the honeymoon.
Correct. Yeah, and what he doesn't realize is when Bao takes him to where the trailer park was, because after a while, yes, trailer parks do tend to go away.
Right.
They don't sustain that long, and so she can only show him pictures in the field.
Right.
And she's talking about the hard times that their family endured together with her dad being in the war,
right?
Having
PTSD,
right, and coming back from that as well, losing friends and not knowing what it is and dealing with it, and to seeing how her mom and dad are now this loving couple,
right?
That sometimes you have to go through things and you have to experience things, and at that moment, you think Johnny's like, okay, he's being sensitive. He's giving empathy to a person that just needs someone to be there and listen to. And he's like, wow, maybe I am looking for perfection when I should just start where we are and build off of that, because people go through hard times. Where my mom, she just made a decision that she couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
And she decided to leave.
Right.
So we thinking, okay, maybe he has a different perspective than what is in his little bubble.
Right. And we do find out a little more about Bao. I was a little scared listening to Bao at times, because she talked about how she was building bonfires and burning Barbies, or generic Barbies as she put them. I didn't know if Bao was like a serial arsonist in the making or what. Even Johnny was like, okay.
Well, you think about it, if you're on your own, you're isolated, you're an Asian American, if she was born here in the United States, you have so much going against you than for you. Being by yourself, she's just like, I'm just trying to find things to do. I'm a kid. It could put you in some rough mindset.
Some dark spaces, yeah.
Yeah.
She went dark. All right. So then they do meet with Dr. Pepper. Because everyone's also meeting with Dr. Pepper just to kind of set the tone for, or kind of like last minute check-in, if you will, before they're really, making their decisions.
Yeah.
And so Dr. Pepper poses the question, is there more, something along the lines of, is there more that you want to learn about your spouse, whatever? And he's like, nope, I've learned everything I need to know about Bao.
Right.
Because her friend told me.
Sarah. Oh, Jesus. Sarah? Yeah, Sarah. I talked to her and I was explaining to her, and then she broke down all the past relationships of Bao, and she was in agreement with me. So I'm done. Some person you don't know this person, but Sarah's looking for a car. I didn't know he was a car salesman. Is he a car salesman?
No, he's an IT project manager.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, yeah.
So Sarah calling you about buying a car. So this is how his story goes. And you're the expert on buying cars? I'm like, this is a setup.
So yeah, because I
was like, whatever.
First of all,
whatever.
This your close friend, right? This is supposedly Bao's close friend. And Bao does call her one of her best friends, right?
For certain things.
For certain things. For certain stuff, right?
Not for her marriage.
For Johnny to take the word of Sarah in such a negative way, I'd be questioning, wait, isn't this your friend? I'd be questioning why you're giving me this information if that's really your friend. because I know my brothers. I know my guys who are my brothers from other mothers, right? And they wouldn't sabotage anything that I'm doing. They may come and check me,
Yeah.
but they don't take that information out into the world and share that with whomever, right? I don't know. I don't get it.
Bao indicates Sarah's negative. She said, I would never bring anything concerning marriage to Sarah.
Because she says Sarah is basically the one that is like,
she's a negative.
Just cut the ties and go.
Get to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows that because she's in a relationship with Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, was. Because I would cut that tie too.
Listen, Bao might set some Barbie.
I wish they would record that. Because
that needs to be.
Because Dr. Pepper asked them to talk about this. She tells Johnny, Dr. Pepper, listen, Johnny, you just threw this out here and you didn't check in with Bao. Mm-hmm. Have this whole conversation with one of her friends that you don't know about how they operate and move. Mm-hmm. You taking their word like it's gospel.
Right.
And not checking in with your wife like, hey, this is what Sarah was saying. What does she mean about this? Mm-hmm. What do you think about what she said? Blah, blah, blah. Because maybe these are some of the things I did see you trying to do.
Right.
So Dr. Pepper's like, you never gave her a chance to rebuttal on some of this stuff.
Right.
So please do that. And then they try to talk about it. And she's like, what did Sarah say? Bao said, what did Sarah say? Because normally she's always negative and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and then he's like, sis, then you always making me out that I'm not trying.
So yeah, he also made the statement. He's like, I don't want to bring Sarah in the middle of this. Dude, you brought Sarah's name up.
You brought her up fully.
You brought her into this situation.
You brought her fully.
And so now to say that Bao is always making him out to be the bad guy, making him out to be this and be that. Bao has her issues. Listen, the fact that Bao does not like to be embarrassed, that Bao has some anxiety around social things as far as
she said why.
Right, she did. So I'm not, she said why. That doesn't excuse the fact that, yes, there are some issues on both sides.
Right.
But Johnny has sabotaged this relationship and has not really tried. He does what the other guy does. He does lip service that says one thing, but then when it comes down to actually doing it, he doesn't do it.
Well, because he changes like the wind. One moment he was like, after they talked about the childhood, you thought you had some breakthrough. Mm-hmm. Then the next minute, if anyone can change your mind about the person you're with, then just drop the person you're with.
Yeah.
Because obviously they can't make a decision of something internally with themselves to decide if they want to be with you. Because if the next person come along and say, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, oh my God, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then when the next person come around and say, you're the molliest thing at sliced bread, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to eat this and die. Mm-hmm. You know what? From my emotional thing, I'm just going to let you go.
Yeah.
So I was mad for her.
He leaves.
He leaves. She said, bye. I'm going to drink all this champagne. I'm going to eat the rest of the food.
And I'm going to call Sarah. And I'm going to put my yoga pants back on.
I'll put my yoga pants on. Take my bottle. Listen, I would go in there and start dialing Sarah. Me and Sarah would have a talk. Oh, no. It's closure. Because I want to hear what Sarah has to say. I'm going to be very polite. Hey, Sarah. Johnny said y'all had this good conversation. I want to know what it's about. I would politely listen, tell her a couple of things about herself and what she is, and lose my number.
That's the version we're saying in case the feds are watching. Because I know you might actually show up at Sarah's house.
I'm not going to the house because he ain't going to put me in jail.
Again.
I'm not going to the house.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Now, on to the couple that wins the award for most confusing, bipolar, crazy couple of this season.
Of the year. The award goes to
Zach and Michaela.
Woo, Jesus. My God. Today.
So they haven't spoken since Zach rolled out at 3 o'clock in the morning in Bumbletown, Texas, going back home, right? She has been trying to reach out to him, and she even says, she put in the text, Zach, I love you, right? Zach is like, look, I want to have a meeting with Dr. Pepper. I want to have a meeting with Dr. Pepper. I don't want to meet with you.
Just him and Dr. Pepper.
Michaela, you stay over there. You stay out there in the Gulf of Mexico, hurricaning out there.
Shut up.
I want to have this conversation with Dr. Pepper. And he's done, right? They meet with Dr. Pepper. He talks about, he's like, I've even asked ex-girlfriends, and they told him that he avoids conflict. Well, duh.
Well, I'm telling you, when we're in the midst of it, we don't see it. We don't see it. But the thing is, if you know you avoid conflict, then should you say, okay, can we take multiple breaks or something? Like, because I want to flee.
Right.
I want to flee. I feel anxious. I don't feel like I can talk about this, especially when the person is not being fully truthful or not remembering everything that occurred correctly.
They have selective memory issues. Her more so than him.
Yeah.
Although there are some things that she said that they've had conversations about that he's very unclear about as well. So they both have selective memory issues.
Right.
Dr. Pepper offers to mediate and triangulate. She's literally like,
translate.
Zach, you talk to me. I'll tell Michaela what you said. And Michaela, you talk to me, and I'll interpret that for Zach. So they do that. And, Michaela talks about how she's stuck on the fact that he left and how that ties in with her abandonment issues.
Yeah, but I don't understand the part where I'm like, so, because since they get the synopsis as the doctor, and this was a blow up, and you're going to go talk to a couple about blow up. You tell me you ain't going to go watch the episode? You make up the because there's his truth, her truth,
and then there's video.
And then
there's security
a bull in the middle. There's a point here, and there's a bull.
Oh, you're talking about the Longhorn theology?
Yeah, the Longhorn
point here, point there, and a whole bunch of bull in between.
And so I would have watched the episode. And then I can call out what they're not able to call out because they're upset.
Yes.
Because I was like, Michaela, baby, at the beginning, at 20 minutes, 50 seconds into the video, you told him to leave.
Her exact words were good and bye.
You told him to get all this stuff and to go. Now, can that trigger for you? Okay, I was in emotions. I was angry.
Yep.
I didn't mean what I was saying.
Yep.
Then you say that, baby.
Yes.
Instead of saying, oh my God, I was just so worried. And my abandonment.
Because she's making it seem like he just up and decided to leave without any conversation leading up to it, right?
I think all couples do that. It's like we want to see that it's not us and we're not a part of it.
Right.
And a lot of times we have to take a step back to do that. But that takes a lot of perspective and working through a lot of emotion. Yeah. That's too much work for people.
So, I mean, his facial expressions when she is talking, he's like,
were you the same person who was in bed with me before?
Were we there at the same place?
I'm gonna start video. I mean, he should start recording. Like, I'm just gonna record.
Well, there's cameras all around, and production this season, production is like, look, we just gonna serve the receipts of everything.
They were like, oh, you said this.
Out there and you cook all the time. Michaela saying, I didn't want him to leave.
It's right here.
So she then says that he tries to paint her negatively, and she doesn't know, he has nothing to show as far as how she's responding. He's like, I'm sorry. I gotta go. I'm out.
I'm gone.
The level of
he's like, I've been so disrespected. She's lying. It's the same thing, like kind of like what Johnny does. But he's like, I can't take it. I need to be on Xanax. I can't do this. I need to be medicated.
He
You got me
literally was like,
medicated.
"Look,
I need to find some
I'm
drugs."
out of here." And so then she comes back. Michaela is then talking about how she calls it a panic attack. That what she did with flipping the tables and pushing the pool table and all that was a panic attack, and that she felt scared, afraid, abandoned, and not since her dad died. Now, I don't want to trivialize the fact that yes, her father passed away, and that's a traumatic experience.
Correct.
I just don't get, and this is from the outside looking in.
Correct.
I don't get how there's an abandonment issue from that when your father died, when you were, it wasn't like he died when she was 6, 7, 10, right? It's traumatic that he passed away. Absolutely.
Right.
But to have that be how that feeds now everything that you do as far as an abandonment issue, when we also understand from her family that they've been calling her Hurricane K before her father passed away. So this isn't an issue as far as Hurricane K that is driven by her father passing away. It seems as if there are things that have happened before, or just the way that she is prior to her father passing away, that now she's using her dad passing away as kind of a cover.
Right. An excuse.
Right.
If you want to put it that way, just simple. It's an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not matching.
Right.
So your diagnosis, that is not, I don't think it's been proven, because it doesn't seem like you've gone through any type of treatment.
Right.
That matches the way your actions are following through.
Right.
I get when someone suddenly leaves, they were supposed to be there and now
Absolutely.
they're gone. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Because he didn't divorce, her mother. He didn't just get up one day and walk away and never came back. No closure.
Right.
Unfortunately, I can't remember if
I think it was a car accident. I think it was a drunk
accident.
driver, if I remember correctly.
Yes, the drunk driver. So someone suddenly takes your dad's life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But you getting upset, you call it a panic attack. My understanding, panic attacks is when people can't typically breathe.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's a panic.
Right.
Yours is more like a overly anger tantrum. It's a different sign. Right. Again, I'm not a doctor either.
But that's a good way of putting it. It is almost like a tantrum because, again, remember when she had the issue with the Clorox wipes when he went to, he took the dogs to the dog sit or whatever. It was almost like a tantrum. It didn't feel like outside looking in, of course, like a panic attack. It was right. It was, I'm not getting my way, or I'm not getting what I think I should get, so I'm going to respond this way.
Right.
So Zach then calls Dr. Pepper, is like, look, can we just have a closure meeting? Can we just close out this chapter on our life? Can we just
okay.
So they meet again with Dr. Pepper. Again, Michaela is given the opportunity to kind of speak and share what she's feeling. She says now that her passion was misconstrued and that she was always trying. I think that they both, in their own way, think that they were trying. I don't think that they ever fully tried together because they even make the statement, they make the comment that when it's great, but when we have these issues are overweighing everything else.
No, I believe wholeheartedly they feel like they were trying. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, in your dysfunction, that's what trying looks like.
That's true.
I give that they were trying. So with
their limited skills.
Yes. Because when you're limited based off of what people are not helping you to transform, or you're not allowing to transform, that's the best way you respond. Mm-hmm. Now, once it was brought out, okay, were we trying? Yes. But guess what? It's going to take longer than 8 weeks to train your behavior to do something different. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it could take years. Like you do well for a good 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's easy to pop back to how you used to respond.
Mm-hmm. So, and so then he even makes a statement. He's like, he's been putting in as much effort as well. I call flag on that play. I'm sorry. He hasn't really been putting in a whole lot of effort.
I think he has.
With his limited ability,
Yes.
I think there's several issues going on with Zach.
Correct.
That prevent him, that he's not ready for marriage, in my opinion. There's several things that he's done and said, and even how he communicates, that tell me that there's some things going on with him that he needs to take a step back and really just counseling. I think we recommend counseling to a lot of folks, right?
Right.
But I think counseling, I think having the ability to know what he wants and find the woman that is going to be a fit for him. Because I think that Michaela is too aggressive. And I don't say that as a negative term. I think she's just too outspoken for him. I think Zach is almost more comfortable with a woman that is more mothering to him than partner to him.
I think that's the problem. My thing, until you get into marriage, until you're into conflict, until you see the issue and someone pushes the button, you'll stay in that type of mind frame. So if you're saying, I can love this person through this issue and they're willing to work through it, then stay married. Because you made a commitment between family, God, and whatever. Because once you get out of it, what happens? You go back to doing the way you did relationships before, unless you're in counseling. But I can be in counseling all day. Who am I supposed to practice what I'm learning on?
True.
So he can find someone else that's not going to respond as highly or as abrasive.
Right.
And then is he going to have the same sense of urgency in how he needs to change? It could have been said better. Only thing she had to say since they've been talking, baby, that don't make sense.
A lot that Zach says does
Baby,
not
that just don't
make
make
sense.
sense.
Because even Dr. Pepper, she does, because there's the conversation of, for Michaela, she's like, if we're going to get divorced, we're going to get divorced.
Right.
Zach is like, if we're going to get divorced, we can use that as a new opportunity to really get to know each other and really engage with each other without the confines of being married to each other. And basically, can we just, spoiler alert, Zach is still trying to get with her.
Basically, he's saying we can still have sex.
Right.
And have at least that type of relationship and talk on that level. But we're not in committed. So anytime I want to walk out, again,
or stay at home and watch my own Apple TV, I can do that.
I can do that. And no, at least Michaela has the God-honest sense, like if we're gonna, then might as say married.
Well, she say that, but we find out in the trailer for next week that they slept together again, right?
Well, because
so even Dr. Pepper's like, divorce means something different to both of you.
Right.
You each have a different connotation, a different understanding of what it means to be divorced, right?
Yes.
Michaela's like, I have closure now.
Right. I'm done.
And then Dr. Pepper, there's this exercise or this thing where she's like, at least hold hands.
Right.
At least, connect with each other as people.
Right.
And Zach is like, yeah, I wanna connect with you.
So, because Dr. Peppermint is like, y'all have more positive experience than negative experience.
Right.
But when y'all have the major blow up, that's what your problem is.
Right.
You're upset she blows up because your ego is bruised because she's saying, this is the most stupidest thing I ever heard of in the most loudest, obnoxious way possible.
Yes.
That's his problem.
Right.
And I'd rather him say that. I'm a black man and I'm talking to my wife. And my wife is degrading, even though I have a degree, I make a lot of money, my intelligence, I can learn different things. But when I talk to her, she makes me feel stupid. And he's not making sense. He just can't get it out, right?
Right.
So if
use your words, Zach. Use your words.
Right, but he can't communicate what he's trying to say. So, but she makes a big deal about how bad it is.
Right.
It hurts his ego.
Yes.
And then he gets anxious and then he wants to leave because it's out in the open. Get it. But he can't even communicate that. And I don't even know the doctors can describe. That's just basic stuff.
Yeah.
I get it. If every time I say something to you, we're sitting at Applebee's and you go, oh my God, what in the blah, blah, blah? That don't make sense. I can't take this anymore. And you're like, whoa, I don't even remember how I said it. What did I say? Oh, I'm done.
So they get in the elevator, and that pretty much wraps up this episode, right? So we still have, it looks like, another full episode before decision day. Predictions, of course, we know Zach and Michaela are not together. We know Johnny and Bao are not together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We're Brett and Ryan, if they are together, it would surprise the living daylights out of everyone.
I would be, why?
Right. Johnny and
had nothing to go off.
Mirla and Gil are two. I believe they make it through decision day. We differ on, I think that they probably are not long term. Same thing with Jose and Rachel. I think they'll make it through decision day. I don't know that they'll be long term. So, but listen, definitely make sure you're hitting the subscribe button, hit the like button, request notifications, and share. And then check out some of the other videos we have. Listen, we're also reviewing Ready to Love, which is another show that we have. And then in the comments, let us know if there's something else that maybe we are not watching that maybe you want us to review and do recaps on. As long as it's on brand for us, we'll consider it.
I consider it. I tried, guys.
We couldn't do The Bachelor. We could not do The Bachelor.
And then what was the other show? Doctors of something?
No, we didn't. We never looked at Married to Medicine.
That was ratchet.
Oh, it was Bells of Mississippi or something like that. I don't know. That one was like, that's not it. All right. But anyway, listen, we'll see you next time. Have a great one. Be blessed.